After 5 decades of silence, legendary director Francis Ford Coppola has finally revealed the truth about working with Gene Hackman, a truth that reshapes how we understand one of cinema's most powerful collaborations. What Coppola shared wasn't just another Hollywood anecdote, it was a confession that exposes the real genius behind The Conversation, a film that changed American cinema forever. The story he kept hidden all these years reveals why Hackman's performance still haunts us today, and why his methods matter now more than ever. In the aftermath of The Godfather's monumental success in 1972, Francis Ford Coppola stood at a career-defining crossroads. Rather than capitalizing on his newfound clout with another sweeping epic, Coppola chose to direct The Conversation, a small, intimate psychological thriller about a surveillance expert haunted by the potential consequences of his work. When Coppola approached Hackman for the role of Harry Caul, the reclusive surveillance expert, Hackman was respected but not yet the household name he would later become. Coppola recently revealed that their initial meeting was tense. Hackman arrived with reservations about taking on such a complex, introspective character. Gene didn't say much when I first pitched him the role, Coppola recounted. He just listened, occasionally nodding. Then, after I finished, he simply said, "I understand this man." In that moment, I knew no one else could play Harry Caul. What Coppola has now revealed after decades of silence is the extraordinary lengths to which Hackman went to inhabit the role of Harry Caul. Unlike many actors who socialize between takes, Hackman chose a radically different approach. He isolated himself from the cast and crew, often sitting alone with his saxophone, an instrument he learned to play specifically for the role, and refusing casual conversation. Coppola admitted being concerned about Hackman's well-being during filming, but came to understand that this isolation wasn't about being difficult. It was Hackman's method for immersing himself in the character's profound loneliness. There was one day, Coppola recalled, when I found Gene sitting in Harry's apartment, set long after we'd finished shooting. The crew had left, but he remained, just sitting in the character's space, absorbing the emptiness. I asked if everything was okay, and he looked at me with Harry's eyes, not Gene's, and said, "This is where he lives." That's when I realized he wasn't just playing Harry Caul, he had become him. The results of this immersive approach are evident throughout the film. In one of the most powerful moments, Harry realizes that his surveillance recording may have captured evidence of a planned murder. Hackman conveys this dawning horror not through dramatic dialogue or overt emotion, but through the slightest trembling of his hand and a haunted look. Coppola now reveals that this scene wasn't rehearsed. He simply described the situation to Hackman and rolled the camera, capturing a genuine moment of realization that blurred the line between actor and character. What many people don't understand about Gene, Coppola explained, is that his greatest strength wasn't in what he did, but in what he allowed himself to feel. Most actors perform emotion. Gene experienced it and allowed us to witness it. The collaboration between Coppola and Hackman wasn't without challenges. During the filming of Harry's confession scene in a church, Hackman struggled with the vulnerability required. After several unsuccessful takes, Coppola took an unconventional approach. "I asked everyone to leave the set except for Gene and the camera operator," Coppola shared. "Then I sat next to him in the confessional and spoke about my own guilt, my own failures. After about 20 minutes I quietly left, nodded to the operator, and he filmed what became the final version." What you see isn't acting, it's a man confronting his own soul. The making of The Conversation was fraught with other challenges that shaped its final form. Coppola faced conflicts with his original director of photography, Haskell Wexler, which led to Bill Butler taking over. This change influenced the film's visual style, creating the detached, voyeuristic perspective that perfectly complements Harry's character. The film's haunting piano score, composed by David Shire, and was written before filming began. In an unusual approach, Shire would play the piano on set to help the actors connect with the emotional tone of scenes, a technique that particularly helped Hackman stay within Harry's psychological space. Coppola drew significant inspiration from Michelangelo Antonioni's Blow Up, particularly its theme of uncovering a crime through technology. But the character of Harry Caul was equally influenced by Hermann Hesse's Steppenwolf, with its portrait of a man isolated from society. "I gave Gene both of these works before filming," Coppola explained, "not as research, but as emotional guideposts. He absorbed them completely." Despite these behind-the-scenes challenges, or perhaps because of them, the conversation achieved remarkable critical success. The film won the prestigious Palme d'Or at the 1974 Cannes Film Festival and earned 3 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. Yet commercial success eluded it, overshadowed by the release of The Godfather Part II the same year. This relative commercial obscurity has, ironically, contributed to the film's lasting impact, allowing it to be continually rediscovered by new generations. Gene Hackman's performance in The Conversation has influenced countless actors who came after him. Al Pacino has spoken openly about studying Hackman's work, particularly his ability to convey complex emotions with minimal external expression. "What Gene did," Pacino once remarked, was, "show us all that power doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes the quietest performance is the one that breaks your heart." Directors like Steven Spielberg, who would later cast Hackman in The French Connection 2, have cited his work with Coppola as a masterclass in character development. The legacy of The Conversation extends far beyond its immediate impact. Its exploration of surveillance, privacy, and moral ambiguity resonates perhaps even more powerfully today than when it was released. Films like Enemy of the State, which even featured Hackman in a role reminiscent of an older Harry Caul, directly acknowledge their debt to Coppola's and Hackman's work. The film's induction into the National Film Registry in 1995 officially recognized what cinephiles had long known, that this collaboration had produced something of lasting significance. Coppola's recent revelations about working with Hackman shed new light on their artistic partnership. "Gene taught me something essential about directing," Coppola admitted. "He showed me that sometimes my job wasn't to direct at all, but to create the space where something real could happen. There were moments on that set where I felt more like a witness than a director." After delivering powerhouse performances in films like The French Connection, Unforgiven, and The Royal Tenenbaums, Hackman retired from acting in 2004, retreating from public life with the same quiet determination that characterized many of his roles. His absence from screens has only heightened appreciation for the body of work he left behind, with The Conversation increasingly recognized as perhaps his most nuanced performance. The film's final scene, where Harry, believing his own apartment to be bugged, methodically destroys it in search of surveillance devices, showcases the depths of Hackman's commitment. The scene was filmed over 3 days, with Hackman performing much of the destruction himself. By the 3rd day, Coppola revealed, Gene was physically and emotionally exhausted. "What you see isn't just acting, it's a man who has pushed himself to his limits for his art." When he finally sits amid the ruins, playing his saxophone, there's a truth there that no amount of direction could create. The themes explored in The Conversation have only grown more relevant with time. In an era of ubiquitous surveillance, data collection, and privacy concerns, Harry Caul's moral crisis feels prophetic. The film's questions about responsibility, complicity, and the human cost of technology resonate across decades. Coppola and Hackman created not just a thriller, but a profound meditation on what it means to witness without intervening, to have knowledge without action. "What I want people to understand about Gene," Coppola stated in his recent interview, "is that his approach wasn't about ego or method or technique. It was about truth. He was willing to make himself uncomfortable, to live in the discomfort of his characters, because he believed that's where honesty resided." In an industry often focused on glamour and artifice, Gene's commitment to emotional truth was revolutionary. What Francis Ford Coppola finally revealed about Gene Hackman isn't just film history, it's a challenge to all of us who care about cinema. In an age of CGI spectacles and formula franchises, their collaboration reminds us that the most special effect remains the human face in moments of genuine emotion. Hackman's willingness to inhabit Harry Caul's isolation created something that no amount of technology can replicate. A performance that continues to haunt us because of its humanity, not despite it. As you revisit the conversation, remember that what you're witnessing isn't just acting, it's a man willing to expose his soul for the sake of truth. In an era of filtered reality and curated personas, that courage might be Hackman's most enduring legacy. Sometimes, the most powerful stories are the ones we have to lean in to hear, just like Harry Caul hunched over his audio equipment, searching for meaning in the spaces between words.